I don't know how it's already becoming such a recurring theme that with the 700CL-X, anytime we have to do a mod to it, we have to hack it up in some way, shape, or form, but it seems like that's the case. The first thing that we did to it was put the aftermarket levers on, and of course they were cheap Chinese things from eBay, so we had to cut them to make them fit. And today we're putting saddlebags on it, which is going to require a bit of... That's right, today we're throwing on some saddlebag brackets from SW Motech that will actually work with the exact same bags that Nina uses on her Rebel 300, although it will require a bit of drilling. Oh snap. But first things first, we got a mod that'll go on that'll make the bike look a whole lot better, and we're also going to handle those chopped up levers that I was talking about by throwing some new ones on. Oh yeah, and another surprise mod that, based off the reaction to my last video, you guys might not like at all. Subscribe if you're new here. Let's jump straight into it. Okay, why don't we start off with this guy right here. Quick and easy way to make this thing look a whole lot better, and I've done this on a few other bikes. You might recognize the box, so leave some guesses below. If you guessed bar end mirrors, you would be right, so let's go ahead and break these free and take them off. Number one and number two. Now fortunately those stock mirrors are the exact same thread pitch as all of my Hondas, so in order to get rid of these unsightly holes left from the mirrors, we can just use the same mirror block offs that I've always used. You guys have seen these a bunch before, and of course they'll be linked below once again, but all you gotta do is thread them in, tighten them all the way down, and we are good to go, looking like they were never even there in the first place. Now before we take a look at which bar end mirrors I got, let's make room for them by getting rid of each of the bar ends. Shazam. Shazam numero dos. And wasting no time boring you guys with yet another bar end mirror install. Here they are, all installed and looking so damn good. You guys know I say this every time, but they really make the bike just so much more streamlined and sexy. Install is super easy. Each of the mirrors has one of those like expanding joints where as you tighten it down, it expands and locks in. I will be honest though, on these bars, it didn't want to quite go in all the way, so I gave it a little love tap with the mallet and we were good. Then once you have that end bolt tightened all the way down to keep it nice and secure inside the bars, you can use these bolts right here as well as this one to pick the angle of this part and the angle of the mirror itself. And of course you know that these are the lane split mirrors as well, so they pop right in so you can split between things and then they'll pop right back into place where you had them. Cheap, easy, sexy, no more big old lollipop sticking up, and she's looking good. All right, now speaking of having to hack things up every time we work on this bike, let's go ahead and take off this hack job of a clutch lever and hope that the new levers that we got work better. She just rode a motorcycle. When are you getting one?
I fix them and I ride a backpack. I don't drive them.
Yeah. Okay, so here is the hack job of a lever that we've been using up until now. As you can see, I had to cut it with a grinding wheel and hack it all up in order to get it to work. I forget how in depth I went with this story the first time, but essentially here's what happened. So when we bought the bike, it had been knocked over before, so the tip of the clutch lever was broken, which I was just kind of like, whatever, I'll get to it when I get to it. But apparently that is a thing that will allow it to not pass Maryland inspection, so I had to find new levers to replace it. Well, looking on the forums, apparently it's a total pain in the ass to do so because there's two different models of the bike. There's the Heritage and the Sport. So apparently it sounds like when people order levers, it's just kind of like a crapshoot as to whether they send you the Heritage or the Sport one. I found a link for people who claim that it definitely worked for the Heritage, so I ordered them, but it turns out that it was designed for the Sport. It's not even supposed to have this little like end piece right there, and I had to cut it out because it just went straight across right here before, which is designed for the Sport, and it just wouldn't fit, period. So I cut it up and got it to work. It was all fine and dandy, whatever, but as you can see, the cutting wheel kind of skipped out of place a couple of times and mangled it all up. So the part that was showing, I just colored in with Sharpie so it wasn't as obvious, but it still irked me. So I reached out to the company and they sent me what they said was the correct adapter to make it work, and it seemed like it was, because you can see it has the exact same cutout as what I had to cut out. But with the new one, this little nub thing right there is actually what holds out the adjusting wheel right there, and it turns out that it was too small and it was making the lever sit too close to the bars and the clutch was not able to engage. Even at the setting furthest away, the clutch engages right there. So try number 3 is in this box, and hopefully it's our saving grace. And I think I like these levers better, so I really hope they work. All right, so here's the new ones. You got the clutch lever here, brake lever here, and as you can see, they're a lot sleeker and just a lot less going on than the other ones, which I love. These were cool because they were the foldable levers and they're all adjustable and everything, but at the end of the day, there's just a lot going on with them, and these just, I don't know, look a lot like classier and cleaner, so hopefully they work. As you can see, it has the proper cutout there, and it doesn't have the weird little nub on the back side, so everything's looking good, but we'll see. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. Let's go, baby. After a quick shakedown run, both of the levers are good to go, and I honestly could not be more stoked. You can see that in comparison to the old ones, they're just so much more like classy and refined. These have these like silver bolts all over them and a logo and all this adjustability and nonsense, and these are just like so sleek and sexy, and I just love them. Now the brake side has this plunger right here that is what pushes in and engages the brake, and it is adjustable, so you just want to thread it out to exactly the same length as the stock one, and then there's a little boot in there that slides over it, and you are good to go. Everything else is just par for the course. Now you can see that in comparison, the levers that we had before were about the same length as stock, and they're actually probably about an inch longer than the new levers. So the old levers had a grip area of like what you would consider a 3-finger lever, or you could probably even do 4 if you have a small hand, but the new levers are more of a 2-finger clutch or a 3-finger if you have a smaller hand. Personally, I love that. I ride with just 2 fingers on each hand anyway, 2 of them on the bar, 2 of them on the lever, but Nina's a newer rider and she still uses 3 or 4 fingers on them, so when she goes to ride this, hopefully she likes it and it doesn't negatively impact her, but time will tell on that. Overall, I am super stoked on them, so you already know the drill. Link is going to be in the description. Okay, so honestly, all that stuff was a breeze. It's all par for the course stuff that we've done countless times before, but now comes the daunting part where we have to cut through the back plastics of the bike in order to fit these saddlebag brackets. Okay, so this is what comes in the package, the bracket itself and all of the hardware and spacers, and then this is what it looks like all put together. The 2 black bolts go on the side where the mounts are not, and then the silver one with the collar goes on the side where the 2 mounts are, because that's the locking tab. And then of course you got the 2 bolts with the spacers and washers, which is what we'll use to mount it to the bike. Now if you're thinking to yourself that these brackets look super familiar, the reasoning for that is because they're made by SW Motech, who is actually the ones who make all of the stock mounting brackets for OEM Honda stuff. So if you have a Rebel 300, 500, or 1100 with the OEM soft bags, this probably looks super familiar because it's the same loop that Honda uses, or I should say that SW Motech always uses, but SW Motech makes the Honda stuff. So with that said, the super cool thing is that because Nina already has these same brackets on her Rebel 300, we can actually just go ahead and take the same bags that she uses on that bike and pop them straight on here. Now if you're wondering how these are going to mount up, they're going to mount up right like that, and as you can tell, there are no holes for any bolts to pass through, so that is our next task. Okay, so there's a second keyhole down here that you turn, and then the seat will just slide back and pop off. Then each side has one Phillips head screw right here that comes out, and then this side just pulls right off. So as we're looking at the back of the panel, both of them are going to be the same thing, just reversed obviously. These little push pin things are what was just in some rubber bushings there, so you literally just pull it straight out and it'll pop out. But if you look closer, you can actually see a circle right there and a circle right there, and there's a little dot in the center of each of them. It's super cool that CFMoto kind of already knew that people would want to mount stuff up, so they just straight up gave you the blueprints. So all we got to do is find the dot in the middle of each circle, drill a little pilot hole, and then we'll take a hole saw or something like that, and I think it's supposed to be officially 28 millimeters, but that's about 1 1/8 inches. We'll start at 1 inch and drill out the perfect little circle there, smooth everything out, and then we should be able to just mount everything up. Behind the panel, you can look and see they actually have holes on the other side, and then they also have threads. You can't see that. They also have threads that those bolts from the kit will just screw right into. All right, so I'm not sure if this is the best tool for the job necessarily, but it's what I have, so we're gonna use it. It's a 1 inch, whatever the heck it's called, bit, and essentially this will make the pilot hole for us, and then this will cut the 1 inch hole. So fingers crossed. Oh snap, that caught. Okay, one trip to a hardware store later, let's try this with a hole saw, which we should have used in the first place. Okay, so the holes themselves are pretty smooth, but you can see it kind of like chipped off a little bit of finish on the front there, so we'll smooth everything out with the Dremel and we should be good to go. Does kind of suck. I scratched it a little bit there probably when it got caught and flung and hit the tripod, so probably be able to see that a little bit, but whatever. On to the next. Ow, why the before, ew, after. Now with the holes all smoothed down, looking all nice from the Dremel, we can pop it on there and hope that everything lines up properly. Okay, so the front hole is going to get the longer bolt and the longer spacer with a washer right there and some thread lock on the end. And then the back one gets the shorter spacer. Same deal with some thread lock. Nice. Looks like they're not lined up perfectly, almost like the holes aren't perfectly centered where they need to be, but still works. I guess that's why even though the outside of the spacers is 20 mil, they say to drill the hole or cut the hole 28 mil in case they're not centered. But I only did 1 inch, which is 25 mil, and she's looking good. Let's go, baby. Just like that, both sides are on, and I am super, super stoked. The left side actually lines up a little bit more centered. Hopefully you can see there how the spacers are pretty well centered inside the circles. Over here you can see not so much. It's like kinda touching, almost touching up there, and same deal on that side. There's a little bit more space off to the side. You can't see that. There you go. So I don't know, chalk that up to just like the Chinese build quality if you want to. I definitely centered them in all of the circles, but either way, everything's looking super good. I love how, as always with the SW Motech stuff, although you can obviously tell there's brackets there, they don't stick out like a sore thumb, you know? So it keeps it nice and clean, but then you can still throw on some saddlebags, which, speaking of which, without further ado, wow, perfect timing. Look who's home. Okay, so perfect timing. Nina just got home with the Rebel 300. You want to throw this on the Rebel 300 to show them how easy it is?
It's very cool. So you just have to line up these 3 points with your 3 thingy-majiggies, and it just snaps in. That's literally it. And you just pop it off.
Boom.
It's satisfying when it makes the click. It doesn't always make the click, but it's satisfying when it does.
All right, here, let's throw this one on, and then you can take a step back and see it in its entirety for the first time.
I like it. Like, it rounds the butt end out a lot more. And it looks nice from the side too.
Yeah, it looks super, super good.
These are cool because you would expect these, like, they're cruiser vibes, but they have a sporty aspect to them. So, like, they fit. I'm amazed that they look as good on this bike as they do on that bike, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Literally, the timing of that could not have been more perfect. As you can hear, both of us are super stoked on this. I really like the vibes of these bags, but not to mention any SW Motech stuff that uses the SLC carriers, which is the same loop that we use on both of these bikes. Any of those bags will work. I think they have like 3 or 4 different ones that use the same mounting kit, so you can kind of swap in between depending on what works for you. But personally, I really dig the vibes of the all black Legend Gear bags here. It's just super cool that they work so well with this bike and with Nina's Rebel 300. And now for the final piece de la resistance, the secret mod that I mentioned earlier, and depending on what side of the fence you're on for my Honda Scrambler argument, this might upset some of you. The number plate saga continues. Now, these are blank. I'm still not sure if I'm going to use them or not, but SW Motech actually makes blank number plates that go in the place of the bracket. So just like how you can swap in between different kinds of saddlebags, the idea is that you can use the exact same mount and swap out to something like these number plates when you're not using saddlebags instead of having the bracket showing, even though the bracket really isn't that noticeable. You can see here how they literally just mount up and click onto the mounts the same way that the saddlebags do. And it just has that mounting system on the back right there, and they're actually made out of metal. So I figured that these could be cool to give a shot and see how they looked, especially because the aluminum kind of matches up with the aluminum there. I'm saying aluminum, you know what I mean, metal. Who knows if it actually is aluminum, but I mean, it looks like a pretty close match. So I don't know. What do we think? Number plates? I know how some of you guys feel already. So who knows how often we'll be using these number plates, if at all. I'll probably still make a design for them just to see how cool it looks, but for the most part, we'll probably just be running the saddlebags. Because I mean, come on, you just cannot deny how good these things look and how functional they're going to be. I seriously could not be more stoked with all the progress that we made on this bike today. Anything from the mirrors and the levers, you know, the little easy changes, all the way up to the game changer that these saddlebags are going to be. The bike now looks better, it's way more functional, and yeah, I'm stoked. What else can I say? Links to everything from today's video will be in the description below. Shout out to the Patreon members for making all of this possible and allowing me to live my crazy dream of being a full-time YouTuber. Seriously, could not be doing it without you guys. If you want to join the Patreon as well to get early access to videos, behind-the-scenes access, and exclusive access to the Patreon Polaroids, make sure to check out patreon.com/lifeofburch, which is also in the description below. It's the biggest and best way that you can help the channel. Otherwise, you can help by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I'll catch you on the next one. Love you guys. Peace.
Oh, so basic, hope you play this. Damn, I prayed it. Nice song, and I became this. Old souls fake it. Pay those placements. Fuck shit. And I'm still waiting on the brighter days. Been a minute, been rough many times more. And I'm kicking rocks to a sky of gray. Praying hard, talk to me before I'm done for.